Hey guys, what's going on? It's Filmington, and in this video, we've actually got some footage for you that was originally recorded back before opening day, and I believe April 6th. It was part of a collaboration that was on Neo's channel, and we talked about Shohei Ohtani, the investment thesis, maybe some of the risk factors associated with his cards. So the reason why I'm posting that now, 5 months later, is because I think it is still very relevant. So if you haven't already seen the footage, definitely watch this and let me know what you guys think down below. Thanks.
One of the other interesting things that I found when I looked, 'cause to your point about the offseason stuff, it did seem like, Soto went way up. Tatis was trending that direction, and then obviously that took a U-turn, no pun intended. And then a lot of other guys kind of stayed flat. Vlad did not lose value. He didn't really gain a ton of value. Acuna kind of the same way. Didn't really gain a ton of value. Didn't really lose a ton of value. The kids that we've talked about earlier, they all went up a pretty decent chunk. The one guy that reversed that trend, though, that I'm curious for your thoughts on was Ohtani. His stuff is down quite a bit from when the season ended, probably about anywhere from 25 to 40% drops in some cases. Like, uh, his Bowman auto, it's not a first Bowman, but just his Bowman auto is down like a few $1,000s. His Sapphire is down like $1,000. In addition to just like his like more normal entry level base refractor, pink refractor, like that sort of stuff is down anywhere from 30 to 40%. For whatever reason, he seemed to be the big loser of the offseason. Do you think that's just because his stuff got so high last season? Or do you think people are just worried about all the, I don't want to say nonsense that comes along with him, but just the injury concerns? Is he going to pitch? How much is he going to pitch? Does that affect his hit it? You know what I mean? Like all the extra stuff that comes along with him because of how unique he is.
Great question. I think it's both of those things. I think his prices did get too hot too quickly. When things go up really fast, they tend to go down also usually pretty quickly. And I think for a while we talked about hobby spotlight. I think he was like the only guy for a while. Vlad a little bit and
Him and
Ohtani.
Vlad were the
Nobody cared
biggest
about
winners
anybody
during the
else in
season.
April and May. Yeah, and that's where Soto kind of benefited. His prices slipped, but so his prices clearly went down, which I can see. He had a poor second half. Um, Power was way down, I believe. Batting average was way down. Still won the MVP, deserved to. So yes, the injury risk is there. We know it. Already kind of went through a Tommy John. He plays two positions, so he's got two roles, so he's got double the injury risk, and he's stealing bases on top of that. Which I'd probably tell him, yeah, you can stop doing that. It's great for if you own him in one of your fantasy teams or whatever. But
Yeah.
other than that, you don't really want a guy like that to steal base. You don't need him to. He stole over 20 bases. He's got great sprint speed. Actually, look at his baseball savant profile. He's basically like from a hitter. He's got like identical metrics to Tatis from an offensive perspective, which is ridiculous. But down the stretch, he was a lot more efficient from a pitching perspective. And that's kind of what carried his value, like overall WAR, I'd say, and ensured that he finished with a better WAR than everybody else in the game. So what are they going to do this year? Is he going to get more innings? He's not a guy that pitches twice a week. I don't know. I think that, so he's 28 years old. He's had one remarkable season. He's had a couple like decent like half seasons, I think, at this point. I think this is something that also holds down Vlad, is that people are, and they should be, people aren't just going to react on short-term performance. What's most important for a player's value, or like how me or you would appraise a certain player, is what is his like long-term potential? What are his long-term capabilities? Is he going to have like between 5 to 8 really dominant seasons? That's how you would normally appraise a regular player. And I think that's what's keeping down Vlad a little bit, because people are questioning his body and if he can continue to excel in his 30s, or is he going to turn into another Prince Fielder, maybe, retire a little bit earlier, and maybe he won't be able to control his weight. And that becomes an issue again, as it usually tends to be with players that have weight issues in their early 20s and they're in their late 20s, 30s, and it becomes something that's difficult to manage. So with Ohtani, though, I think he is so special where he doesn't need to have 5 to 8 awesome seasons where he wins MVP in half of them in order to be forever hobby relevant. He might only need to do what he did last year 2 more times. And he's got a bunch of years to do that. I mean, he's gonna lose a little bit of speed. He's probably going to lose a little bit of performance in his 30s. So maybe that goes down a little bit, but he could do what he did last year again this year and do it again the year after that. And then maybe his career gets derailed with injuries afterwards. And even though his overall WAR isn't up to the level of like a typical Hall of Famer or one where we value him like top 5 in the hobby for current modern players that are there right now, he's just so different and unique. He's the second coming of Babe Ruth in a way where he'll forever be legendary. Even just based on one season, you could argue that. So I think people are sort of losing sight over how special he is, and they're trying to evaluate him like everybody else. So I do think that the long-term projections and a long-term career and that sort of matters, and accumulating stats and accumulating WAR. I think that certainly matters to most players, and it does to him to an extent, but I do think he's a little bit different because of what he's doing and how special it is on both sides of the ball, and the fact that we'll never see it again, or we'll have to wait another 100 years to see this again, right? But having said that, what I will say is there is a risk factor associated with Ohtani's cards in that he has so many of them, so many rookie cards. If you look at Bowman Chrome, he's got autographs. And it used to be where like the one that came first was the more expensive one because it came first, but the one that came second's got a hitting pose. So now they're valued similarly. I'm talking the Bowman Chrome autographs from the Bowman set and the Bowman Chrome set that came out later that year. So he's got multiple Bowman sets that matter. He's got multiple Topps Heritage sets that matter with red ink autographs. He's got multiple Topps Chrome sets that matter where he has meaningful cards in the Topps Chrome update and the hitting pose. He's got multiple Topps flagship sets with meaningful cards, which is in Topps Series 2 and Topps Update. So at some point, like, we've talked about this. You asked me, what's the card to pick up for Ohtani? I'm like, I don't know. Like most players, you can tell, you can limit it to like 3 to 5. Like this is like the hierarchy, or these are like the top 3 that I focus on. With him, I don't know. And that's why Tatis's injury risk, sure, it's been a reason for me to avoid his cards. I don't really have that many Tatis cards, but like another part of it is because his rookies were in 2019. There's just a lot more for him than there were for Soto. So I tended to go for, the supply. Whenever I make a buying decision, it's not just based off of the demand side of the equation. You should always weigh in supply, because whether that seems to not matter today, and Ronald Acuna in his US 250, even though it's pop at the time, it was pop 5 to 10,000, it was still selling for like $300. Like that might not matter now because everybody wants it, but at some point supply will matter.
Yeah.
Actually, for most of the, for the from now till the end of time, supply will matter. It's going to matter, at some point. So I don't know. That's my thoughts.